The sound of dirt hitting the casket still echoes in my ears, even now, 3 hours later, as I sit in my living room surrounded by people who claim to love my son. Thud, thud, thud. Each shovelful felt like another piece of my heart being buried 6 feet under. Georgia Clay. My name is Evelyn Carter, and today I buried my only child. Marcus was 38 years old when that drunk driver took him from me. 38 years of watching him grow from a skinny boy with scraped knees into a man who could light up any room with that infectious laugh of his. 38 years of Sunday dinners, birthday candles, and Christmas mornings that will never come again. I keep my hands folded in my lap, feeling the weight of every eye in this room. The funeral reception has turned my modest Atlanta home into a parade of grief tourists, some genuine, others here for reasons I'm beginning to understand all too well. The women from my church hovered near the kitchen, their voices a low hum of comfort and casserole recipes. Marcus's co-workers from the construction company stand awkwardly by the piano, still in their uncomfortable suits, not quite sure how to fill the silence where his booming voice should be. But it's Vanessa. I'm watching my daughter-in-law. I suppose that title died with my son sits perched on the edge of my burgundy sofa, like a hawk surveying its territory. Even in grief, she's put together with the precision of a magazine cover. Her black dress is designer, her makeup flawless, despite the tears she shed so dramatically at the graveside. Those tears dried up remarkably quick once we got back to the house. She keeps glancing at Marcus's old bedroom door, then at me, then at her purse. I've seen that look before. It's the same expression she wore when she convinced Marcus to buy that expensive car they couldn't afford, or when she'd hint about wanting a bigger house in a better neighborhood. Mama Evelyn, she says, her voice sweet as molasses but with an edge sharp enough to cut glass. She's called me that for the past 5 years, though it always felt more like performance than affection. I was thinking, maybe tomorrow we should go to the bank together, to handle Marcus's accounts and all that financial business. I know it's hard to think about right now, but these things can't wait too long. The room doesn't exactly go quiet, conversations continue, but I feel the subtle shift in attention. Mrs. Patterson from down the street pauses mid. Deacon Williams looks up from his plate of my famous mac and cheese. Even Marcus's boss, Big Jim, turns his head slightly in our direction. Tomorrow's Sunday. Baby, I say quietly, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside my chest. Banks are closed. Monday then. She leans forward, her hand reaching out to touch mine. Her skin is soft, manicured, nothing like the calloused hands that come from a lifetime of work. I just want to make sure everything's taken care of properly. Marcus would want that, wouldn't he? For his family to be secure. His family, the way she says it makes it sound like I'm not part of that equation anymore. Like with Marcus gone, I'm just some old woman in the way of her inheritance. I'm sure everything will work out just fine, I tell her. Pulling my hand away gently, David will handle all the legal matters when it's time. David Johnson has been our family lawyer for over 20 years. He buried my husband, helped Marcus set up his business, and walked me through more legal papers than I care to count. He's sitting across the room right now, his kind eyes meeting mine over his coffee cup. There's something in his expression of knowledge, a preparation that gives me the first comfort I've felt all day. Vanessa's smile falters for just a moment. David, oh well, of course, but I mean, I am Marcus's wife. These things should be straightforward, right? She doesn't know. She has no idea what Marcus did 3 months before he died. When he came to me with papers spread across my kitchen table and worry lines creasing his handsome face. Mama, I need you to listen to me carefully, he'd said that April evening, his voice lower than usual. Vanessa's been talking to some of her girlfriends about money and investments, and I don't know, something doesn't feel right. I want to make sure you're protected, no matter what happens to me. I'd brushed off his concerns then, told him not to worry about such dark thoughts. But Marcus was always careful, always thinking ahead. He got that from his father. God rest his soul. Sometimes a man's instincts know things his heart doesn't want to accept. Double quotes. Mrs. Carter calls out a voice from the kitchen. It's Janet from the church, waving me over. We're trying to figure out where you keep your good serving dishes for all this food. I excuse myself and make my way through the crowd. grateful for the interruption. As I sort through cabinets and direct the kitchen volunteers, I catch fragments of conversation drifting from the living room. Double quotes. Such a tragedy. And him so young. Double quotes. That intersection has been dangerous for years. Double quotes. Hope Vanessa will be okay. You know how expensive everything is these days. That last comment comes from Vanessa herself, her voice carrying just a little too well. She's working the room now, accepting condolences with the grace of a practiced performer, but I catch the way her eyes keep returning to Marcus's bedroom door, to the desk where he used to pay bills and handle paperwork. Evelyn, honey, you need to eat something. Mrs. Patterson appears at my elbow with a plate piled high with food. I can't imagine swallowing. You've been taking care of everyone else all day. She's right. Of course, even in grief, even with my world turned upside down, I've been making sure everyone has enough to eat, enough coffee, enough comfort. It's what Marcus would want me to do, what he did do when his father passed 7 years ago. He stood beside me then, tall and strong, making sure I didn't have to carry the burden alone. Now I'm carrying it by myself, and it feels heavier than Georgia's summer air. The afternoon stretches on, friends and family coming and going like waves against the shore. Each goodbye is a small relief, bringing me closer to the quiet I desperately need. But Vanessa shows no signs of leaving. She's made herself comfortable, rearranging the throw pillows on my sofa, commenting on which flowers need more water, acting for all the world like this is her house now. Maybe she thinks it is. As evening approaches and the last of the church ladies finish cleaning my kitchen, I find myself alone with Vanessa and David, who's been quietly nursing the same cup of coffee for the past 2 hours. He's waiting for something, or maybe waiting for someone else to leave. I should go, Vanessa says. But she doesn't move from the sofa. Instead, she opens her purse and pulls out a small notebook. Mama Evelyn, I've been making a list of things we'll need to take care of. The bank accounts, the car titles, the deed to the house. Marcus always handled everything himself, bless his heart. But now, she trails off, leaving the implication hanging in the air between us, like smoke from a dying fire. Now what, baby? I ask, settling into my favorite armchair, the one Marcus bought me for my 60th birthday. Well, now it's up to his family to handle his affairs. She glances at David, then back at me. His immediate family. David clears his throat softly. Mrs. Carter, would you like me to explain the process for probate and estate settlement? It might help everyone understand what comes next. That would be good, I say, though I already know what comes next. I've known for 3 months, since the day Marcus sat at my kitchen table and made sure his mama would be taken care of. But Vanessa doesn't know, and watching her face when she finds out is going to be the first thing that makes me smile since I lost my boy. The morning sun filters through my bedroom curtains, casting familiar shadows across the hardwood floor Marcus helped me refinish 2 summers ago. For a moment, just one blessed, confused moment, I forget why my heart feels like it's been hollowed out with a spoon. Then reality crashes back like a freight train, and I remember, my son is gone. I've been awake since 4:30, staring at the ceiling and listening to the house settle around me. This old place has its own language of creaks and sighs. And after 35 years, I know every word. But this morning, it sounds different. Emptier. Like even the walls understand that Marcus won't be coming through the front door anymore. Calling out, "Hey, Mama," in that voice that could chase away any darkness. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A text message from Vanessa. Good morning, Mama Evelyn. Hope you slept well. What time should I pick you up for the bank tomorrow? Want to get there early. 3 heart emojis and an exclamation point. She's practically vibrating with anticipation. I set the phone aside without responding and make my way to the kitchen. The morning ritual of coffee and toast feels foreign now, like I'm playing a role in someone else's life. Everything looks the same. The yellow curtains Marcus picked out because they reminded him of sunshine. The ceramic fruit bowl his father made in a pottery class before he died. The refrigerator covered in photos and church bulletins and Marcus's business cards from Carter and Sons Construction. Carter and Sons. The irony wasn't lost on him when he named the company. He was the son, but there would never be grandsons to carry it forward. Maybe I'll have daughters who can run bulldozers better than any boy, he used to joke. But Vanessa made it clear early in their marriage that children weren't in her plans. She had other priorities. I'm stirring sugar into my coffee when I hear a car door slam in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, I see Vanessa's white BMW, the one Marcus worked overtime for 6 months to help her buy. She's dressed for business in a navy suit and heels, her hair pulled back in a sleek bun. She looks like she's going to negotiate a merger, not settle her deceased husband's affairs. The doorbell rings twice before I reach it. "Mama Evelyn," she says, sweeping past me into the house like she owns it. I know it's early, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything we need to do today. Today's Sunday. "Vanessa, I told you yesterday." I know, but I called the bank. They have an emergency service for situations like this. We can access Marcus's safety deposit box and get copies of all his account information. She's already pulling out her phone, scrolling through what looks like a list. Then first thing Monday morning, we can start the transfer process. Transfer process. She talks about my son's life savings like it's a business transaction. "Vanessa, honey, sit down. Let me fix you some coffee." I don't need coffee. I need action. But she sits anyway, perching on the edge of the kitchen chair, like she might bolt at any second. "Marcus always said, you can't trust banks to do things quickly unless you stay on top of them. Time is money, right?" I pour her coffee anyway and set it in front of her, along with the cream and sugar I know she likes. "Where's all this urgency coming from, baby?" Her laugh sounds forced, brittle. "Urgency? Mama Evelyn, I'm just being practical. Marcus would want his affairs settled quickly and efficiently. He was always so organized about money." That part's true. Marcus kept meticulous records of every penny that came in and went out. He got that from his father, who used to say, "A man who doesn't know where his money goes is a man who doesn't deserve to have any." But Marcus's organization went beyond simple bookkeeping. He was strategic, always thinking 3 moves ahead. Like when he updated his will 3 months ago. "Vanessa, can I ask you something?" I settle into the chair across from her, wrapping my hands around my coffee mug for warmth. "What do you think Marcus left behind?" Her eyes light up like Christmas morning. "Well, I mean, I don't want to seem greedy or anything, but ... double quotes. She pulls out a small leather notebook and flips it open. "There's the house. Of course, it's worth at least $200,000 in this market. The 2 cars, his truck and my BMW, his business accounts, his personal savings, the life insurance policy through work ... She's done her homework. I have to give her credit for thoroughness. Then there's all the equipment from the construction company. Those excavators and bulldozers are worth a fortune. And Marcus mentioned once that he'd been putting money aside for retirement ... She looks up at me with practiced innocence. "I know it's hard to talk about, but Marcus would want his family to be secure, wouldn't he?" His family. There it is again. That phrase that somehow excludes me while including her completely. He would, I agree. Marcus always worried about the people he loved. My phone rings, saving me from having to elaborate. The caller ID shows David Johnson's name, and I feel a flutter of relief. "Good morning, David." "Morning, Mrs. Carter. How are you holding up?" His voice is warm but professional, the tone he uses when he has business to discuss. "I'm managing. What can I do for you?" "I was wondering if we could meet today to go over Marcus's estate documents. I know Sunday isn't ideal, but given the circumstances ... double quotes. I catch Vanessa leaning forward, trying to hear the conversation. "That would be fine, David. What time works for you?" "How about 2 o'clock, at my office?" "Perfect. I'll see you then." Vanessa is practically bouncing in her chair when I hang up. "Was that the lawyer? Are we going to read the will today?" "David wants to meet with me this afternoon to go over some paperwork." "Us," she corrects quickly. "He wants to meet with us. I'm Marcus's next of kin." After all, I could point out that she's wrong about that time. Marcus's next of kin now, but I don't see the point in arguing. She'll understand soon enough. "Of course, baby. You should definitely be there." She beams at me like I've just handed her the keys to the kingdom. "Should I drive?" "My car is more reliable for longer trips. David's office is exactly 12 minutes from my house. I've made the trip dozens of times over the years, but I nod anyway. "That would be nice, thank you." The rest of the morning crawls by like molasses in January. Vanessa hovers around my house, straightening pictures and rearranging knickknacks while I try to find some peace in the Sunday crossword puzzle. She keeps making comments about how cozy the house is, how it has so much potential, how the neighborhood is really coming up in value. By when I'm ready to climb the walls. "We should go soon," she says, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. "I want to make a good impression on the lawyer. David has known our family since Marcus was in high school. He helped us through my husband's death, guided Marcus through starting his business, and has been 2 more Sunday dinners than I can count. But I don't mention any of that. Vanessa seems to think she's meeting him for the first time. The ride to David's office is filled with Vanessa's nervous chatter about estate law and probate procedures. She's clearly spent hours researching online, throwing around legal terms like intestate succession and spousal elective share. She knows just enough to be dangerous, and not nearly enough to see what's coming. David's office sits in a converted Victorian house downtown, all polished wood and brass fixtures. He meets us at the door himself, dressed in his usual Sunday casual khakis and a button-down shirt instead of his weekday suits. His face is kind but serious as he shakes Vanessa's hand and gives me a gentle hug. "I'm so sorry for your loss," he tells Vanessa. "Marcus was a good man, one of the best I've known." "Thank you," she says, her voice catching just slightly. "He really was special." We settle into the chairs arranged around his mahogany desk, and David pulls out a thick manila folder. I recognize it immediately. It's the same folder Marcus brought to my kitchen table 3 months ago, the one that holds the papers that will change everything. Before we begin, David says, looking directly at Vanessa, "I want you to understand that what we're about to discuss might be ... unexpected." Marcus was very specific about his wishes, and he made his decisions carefully and deliberately. Vanessa nods eagerly. Of course, Marcus was always so thoughtful about everything. David's eyes meet mine across the desk, and I see the question there. "Are you ready for this?" I give him the smallest nod. I've been ready for this moment since the day Marcus made me promise to let him protect me, even from beyond the grave. "All right then," David says, opening the folder. "Let's begin with Marcus Carter's last will and testament." David's hands are steady as he opens the manila folder, but I notice the slight pause before he begins to read. He's done this countless times, read wills to grieving families, delivered news that changes lives in an instant. But this one is different. This one was designed to reveal truth. "The last will and testament of Marcus Jerome Carter," David begins, his voice formal and clear, written and signed on April 15th of this year. In the presence of 2 witnesses and notarized according to Georgia state law. Vanessa shifts in her chair, and I catch the sharp intake of breath. April 15th. 3 months ago. 3 months after she started talking about financial planning and securing their future. 3 months after Marcus came to me with worry lines etched deep around his eyes. Marcus Jerome Carter, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, revoking all previous wills and codicils. Standard opening language. But Vanessa's smile falters slightly. She's done enough research to know that revoking all previous wills means whatever she thought existed before no longer matters. David continues reading the preliminary sections: the appointment of executor himself, the payment of debts and taxes, the funeral arrangements that we've already carried out. But I can see Vanessa getting restless, her manicured nails tapping against the leather arm of her chair. "Get to the good part," she murmurs under her breath, then catches herself. "I mean, the distribution of assets." David's eyes flick to me, then back to the document. Article 4, Distribution of Assets. He pauses, clearing his throat softly. "To my beloved wife, Vanessa Marie Carter, I leave the sum of $50,000 from my personal savings account, along with the BMW vehicle currently registered in her name, and all personal jewelry and effects that belonged to her prior to our marriage." $50,000. The silence in the room is so complete. I can hear the old building's heating system clicking on. Vanessa's face goes through a series of rapid changes: confusion, disbelief, then a kind of mathematical panic as she processes what she's just heard. "Wait," she says, her voice higher than usual. "That can't be right. 50,000. What about the house? What about his business? What about the rest of his savings?" David doesn't look up from the document. "To my mother, Evelyn Rose Carter, who raised me with love, wisdom, and sacrifice, I leave the remainder of my estate. This includes, but is not limited to, the family home located at 1247 Magnolia Street, both vehicles registered in my name, all business assets and accounts related to Carter and Sons Construction, my personal savings and investment accounts, and any other assets not specifically designated elsewhere in this document." The words hang in the air like smoke from a fire that's just been extinguished. Vanessa's mouth opens and closes several times, but no sound comes out. She looks like a fish pulled from water, gasping and desperate. "There has to be a mistake," she finally manages. "Marcus wouldn't. He couldn't. We're married. I'm his wife. This has to be an old will." something from before we got married. The will is dated April 15th of this year. David repeats gently, 3 months ago, and it explicitly states that Marcus was married to you at the time of its execution. But Georgia is a community property state actually. Georgia is an equitable distribution state, David corrects, and this will was created in accordance with all state laws regarding spousal rights and inheritance. I watch Vanessa's face as the reality begins to sink in. The careful makeup, the business suit, the leather notebook full of calculations, none of it matters now. She's been preparing for a treasure hunt, but the treasure was never meant for her. I don't understand, she whispers, and for the first time since Marcus died, I hear genuine emotion in her voice instead of performance. He never said anything about changing his will. We never discussed this. Marcus came to me in April, David explains, his voice kind but firm. He was very clear about his intentions and very specific about his reasoning. What reasoning? Vanessa's voice is sharp now, cutting through the professional atmosphere like a blade. What possible reason could he have for leaving me practically nothing? David looks at me, and I nod slightly. It's time. He was concerned about your financial priorities, David says carefully. He mentions some conversations about liquidating assets, about selling the family home, about making investments that he felt were ... unwise. Vanessa's face flushes red. We talked about maximizing our potential, about not letting money sit around earning nothing when it could be working for us. That's not a crime. No, I say quietly, speaking for the first time since David began reading, but it wasn't what Marcus wanted. She turns to me with an expression I've never seen before, fury mixed with desperation. You did this. You poisoned him against me. You never liked me. Never thought I was good enough for your precious son. The accusation hangs between us like a slap that hasn't quite landed. Part of me wants to defend myself, to explain that I tried to love her for Marcus's sake, that I welcomed her into our family with open arms and an open heart. But the larger part of me, the part that buried my son yesterday's, too tired to pretend anymore. Marcus made his own decisions, I tell her. He always did. This is insane. She's on her feet now, pacing behind her chair like a caged animal. There has to be something I can do. I can contest this, right? Prove that he wasn't in his right mind, or that you influenced him, or, Mrs. Carter. David interrupts gently. Marcus anticipated that you might have concerns about the will. That's why he included a specific clause addressing any potential challenges. He flips to another page, and I remember Marcus insisting on this part. My son was always thorough, I'd told him that day. Gets it from his daddy. Should any beneficiary contest this will or attempt to challenge its validity, David reads, that person shall forfeit any and all bequests made to them herein, and their portion shall be added to the estate of Evelyn Rose Carter. The threat is clear and legal and absolutely, like Marcus to think of everything. Contest the will, and Vanessa loses even the $50,000 and the car. It's a masterpiece of legal strategy wrapped in the protective love of a son who saw trouble coming and wanted to shield his mother from it. Vanessa collapses back into her chair, the fight draining out of her like air from a punctured balloon. $50,000, she whispers. That's it. That's all I get from 5 years of marriage. It's more than you brought to the marriage, I point out, and immediately regret the harshness in my voice. But grief and truth have a way of stripping away politeness. She looks at me with something between hatred and disbelief. You really did turn him against me, didn't you? 5 years, Evelyn, 5 years. I stood by him, supported his business, played the perfect wife. Played, I repeat, and the word tastes bitter. That's the problem, isn't it, Vanessa? It was always a performance. David clears his throat diplomatically. Perhaps we should take a short break. This is a lot of information to process, and emotions are understandably high, but Vanessa is already gathering her purse, her notebook, her shattered expectations. No need for a break. I think I understand perfectly now. She stands, smoothing down her skirt with hands that tremble slightly. When do I get the $50,000? After probate is complete, David explains. Probably 6 to 8 weeks, assuming no complications. And the car, you can keep driving it. The title transfer will be handled as part of the estate settlement. She nods curtly, like she's checking items off a shopping list. Fine. I guess that's that. Then, she heads toward the door, then stops and turns back to me. You know what, Evelyn? You won. You got your son back in the end, didn't you? Even dead, he chose you over me. The words are meant to hurt, and they do, but not in the way she intended. Because she's right, Marcus did choose me. He chose to protect me, to make sure I'd be okay when he was gone. He chose love over duty, wisdom over wealth, family over everything else. Yes, I tell her softly. He did. She leaves without another word, her heels clicking angrily against the hardwood floor. Through the window, I watch her get into the BMW, her BMW now, I suppose, and drive away faster than necessary. David and I sit in silence for a long moment, listening to the buildings settle around us, that went about as well as we expected. He finally says, "Better, actually. I thought she might throw something." He chuckles, but his eyes are serious. "Evelyn, you know this isn't over, right? She's going to be angry, probably for a long time, and $50,000 isn't enough to disappear quietly." I nod. I know Vanessa well enough to understand that she's not the type to accept defeat gracefully. She looked for angles, for leverage, for ways to get what she thinks she deserves. But Marcus knew that too, and if I know my son, and I do, he's already 3 moves ahead of whatever game she thinks she's playing. The house feels different when I return from David's office. Not just quiet, it's been quiet since Marcus died, but hollow. Like something essential has been scooped out and carried away. I realize it's the pretense that's gone. For 5 years, I've been playing a role in Vanessa's version of our family story. Now that the performance is over, the stage feels bare and strange. I make myself a cup of tea and sit at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus spread out those legal documents 3 months ago. The memory feels both yesterday fresh and years distant. The way grief warps time. "Mama, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." His voice had been serious, the way it got when he was wrestling with something important. "Do you think Vanessa loves me, or do you think she loves what she thinks I can give her?" The question had caught me off. As a mother, you want to believe your child's spouse loves them, purely, completely. You want to trust their judgment, respect their choices. But Marcus wasn't asking what I wanted to believe. He was asking what I knew. "Why are you asking me this, baby?" "Because she's been talking to her friend Keisha about investment opportunities. Something about flipping houses, buying property, building a portfolio." He'd rubbed his forehead the way he did when he was tired. "She wants me to sell the business, Mama. Take out a second mortgage on this house. Says we're thinking too small. That we could make real money if we just had the courage to take some risks." I'd felt a chill run through me then, the same chill I get now remembering his words. "And what did you tell her?" "I told her this house isn't mine to mortgage. It's our family home. Daddy built half the furniture in here with his own hands. You've got roots here going back 35 years. But she just looked at me like I was being sentimental and stupid. That conversation had planted the seed that grew into the will we read today. Marcus had always been protective of me, but this was different. This was him, seeing his wife clearly for the first time, and not liking what he found. My phone rings, startling me out of the memory. The caller ID shows a number I don't recognize. "Hello, Mrs. Carter. This is Jennifer Walsh from First National Bank. I'm calling about Marcus Carter's accounts." My stomach tightens. "Yes, I had a woman come in here about an hour ago claiming to be his widow. She was asking about accessing his accounts and safety deposit box. I wanted to verify with you before proceeding. Since you're listed as the primary beneficiary on most of his accounts." Primary beneficiary. Marcus had been even more thorough than I realized. "What did you tell her?" "That she'd need to provide documentation from the estate attorney and wait for probate to be completed." She wasn't very happy about that. I'll bet she wasn't. "Thank you for calling, Jennifer." "Yes, David Johnson is handling the estate. Nothing should be released without his authorization." "Understood." "And Mrs. Carter, I'm so sorry for your loss. Marcus was a good man. He came in every month to make sure your account had everything you needed." After I hang up, I sit staring at the phone in my hand. Every month, Marcus had been coming to the bank every month to check on my account, making sure I was financially secure even while he was alive. How did I not know this? The answer comes to me slowly, like morning light creeping across a dark room. I didn't know because Marcus didn't want me to worry about money. He'd been taking care of me quietly, invisibly. The way the best kind of love works, not asking for credit or recognition. Just making sure the people you care about are safe. My phone buzzes with a text message. This time it's from a number I do recognize. "We need to talk. Can I come over?" Vanessa. I should probably say no. Tell her we have nothing left to discuss. But curiosity wins out over self-preservation. Come on over. She arrives within 15 minutes, which means she was already driving around the neighborhood when she texted. This time, she's not dressed for business. She's wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her makeup either worn off or washed away. She looks younger this way, more vulnerable, and for a moment I remember why Marcus fell in love with her. "Thank you for seeing me," she says, standing awkwardly in my doorway like she's not sure she's welcome anymore. "Come in, baby. Sit down." She follows me to the living room but doesn't sit. Instead, she paces to the window, then to the fireplace, then back to the window. "I went to the bank, I heard. They wouldn't tell me anything. Said I needed papers from David. Had to wait for probate." She turns to face me, and I see tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. "Evelyn, I don't understand what happened. Marcus never said anything about being unhappy with me. We never fought about money, never had any big arguments about the future. Maybe that was the problem." She blinks. "What do you mean?" I choose my words carefully, trying to balance honesty with kindness. "Marcus wasn't the kind of man who liked conflict, especially with people he loved. If something was bothering him, he was more likely to just handle it quietly rather than start an argument. Handle it like changing his will behind my back. Handle it like protecting the people he cared about." She laughs. "But there's no humor in it. Protecting you from what?" "From me." The question hangs between us, and I realize this is the moment where I have to decide who I want to be. Do I want to be the grieving mother who takes the easy path, who smooths over the hard truths to avoid confrontation? Or do I want to be the woman who raised Marcus to value honesty above comfort? "Vanessa, can I ask you something? And can you give me an honest answer?" She nods warily. "What were you planning to do with Marcus's money?" "What do you mean?" "I mean specifically, if you'd inherited everything today, what would you have done tomorrow?" She's quiet for a long moment, and I can see her weighing her options. Finally, she sits down across from me, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. "Keisha and I had been talking about buying rental properties," she admits. "There's this whole area downtown that's about to be gentrified. We could buy low now, fix them up, rent them out, then sell when the market peaks. It's a smart investment strategy. Using what money? The life insurance, his savings, maybe a loan against the house, double quotes." She trails off, seeing the expression on my face. "It would have been a good investment, Evelyn. We could have tripled our money in 2 years. And if it didn't work out, it would have worked out. But if it didn't," she's quiet again, and I can see the answer in her eyes. "If it didn't work out, I'd have lost my home. The house Marcus grew up in, the house his father helped build, the house that holds every memory of my family would have been collateral for Vanessa's business venture." "He knew," I say softly. "Somehow, Marcus figured out what you were planning. I wasn't planning anything behind his back. I was trying to build us a future. You were trying to build you a future. There's a difference." She stands up abruptly, that flash of anger returning. "You don't know what you're talking about. You've lived in the same house for 35 years, worked the same job, shopped at the same grocery store. You don't understand what it's like to want more from life." "More than what, Vanessa?" "More than a husband who loved you, more than a family that welcomed you, more than enough money to live comfortably." I stand up too, feeling every one of my 62 years in my bones. "What more could you possibly need?" "Respect." The word explodes out of her like she's been holding it in for years. "I wanted respect. Do you know what it's like being married to Marcus Carter in this town? Everyone loves Marcus. Marcus the generous, Marcus the hardworking, Marcus who takes care of his mama and helps his neighbors and built half the porches in this neighborhood for free." Her voice breaks slightly, and I see the pain underneath the anger. "Do you know what they called me? Marcus's pretty wife. Like that's all I was. Like I didn't have my own dreams, my own ambitions, my own ideas about what our life could be." For the first time since Marcus died, I feel something like sympathy for Vanessa. Not agreement, but understanding. It must have been hard living in the shadow of someone as genuinely good as my son. Marcus would have listened if you'd talked to him about feeling that way. Would he? Or would he have just patted my head and told me I was being silly, that we had everything we needed right here? The question hits closer to home than I want to admit. Marcus was generous and loving and kind, but he could also be stubborn about change. He liked his life the way it was comfortable, predictable, rooted in family and community. Maybe he never really heard what Vanessa was trying to tell him about wanting something different. But that doesn't change what she was willing to sacrifice to get it. "I'm sorry you felt unheard," I tell her honestly, but Marcus's money wasn't the answer to that problem. wasn't it? With enough money, I could have started my own business, made my own name, been my own person, instead of just Marcus Carter's wife. You could have done those things anyway. Marcus would have supported you. With what money, Evelyn? Do you know how much it costs to start a real estate business? How much capital you need to make the kind of investments that actually matter? I'm beginning to understand the scope of Vanessa's ambitions, and it's bigger than I thought. She wasn't just dreaming of a little side business or some rental properties. She was envisioning an empire. And she saw Marcus's death as the seed money to build it. The realization must show on my face, because Vanessa's expression hardens. Don't look at me like that, like I'm some kind of monster for wanting more than this. She gestures around my living room, at the family photos and handmade furniture and comfortable lived-in warmth. This isn't enough for everyone, Evelyn. Some of us need more than Sunday dinners and church socials, and the same conversations with the same people year after year. Then, you should have left, I say quietly. If this life wasn't enough for you, if Marcus wasn't enough for you, you should have been honest about that instead of waiting for him to die so you could cash out. The words are harsher than I intended, but they're true. Vanessa's face goes white, then red, then settles into a cold mask I've never seen before. You're right, she says. I should have left, but I didn't, because I kept hoping Marcus would grow up, would want something bigger than this small-town life his mama chose for him. Marcus chose his own life. Did he? Or did he just never have the courage to disappoint you? The question hits like a physical blow, and for a moment I can't breathe, because there's a grain of truth in it, isn't there? Marcus always wanted to make me proud, always worried about my approval. Did I hold him back without meaning to? Did I make his world smaller by needing him to stay close? But then I remember the will, the careful planning, the way Marcus's eyes lit up when he talked about protecting me. This wasn't about a son afraid to disappoint his mother. This was about a man who finally saw his marriage clearly and chose to protect the people who mattered most. Marcus made his choice, I tell her, and now you have to live with it. She nods slowly, like she's accepting something she's been fighting against. $50,000, plus the car, plus the car. She picks up her purse from the coffee table. I guess that's enough for a fresh start somewhere else. Is that what you're going to do? She pauses at the door, her hand on the knob. I don't know yet. I need to think about what comes next. After she leaves, I sit in my quiet house and wonder if I handled that conversation right. Part of me feels bad for her. She's a widow too, after all, mourning the loss of the future she thought she was going to have. But a larger part of me is grateful for Marcus's foresight, his quiet protection, his final act of love. Outside, the sun is setting over the neighborhood Marcus grew up in, the same streets he walked as a boy, the same houses where his friends still live. This small-town life that Vanessa found so limiting was enough for him. More than enough. It was enough for the son who came home every Sunday for dinner, who fixed my leaky faucet without being asked, who made sure his mama never had to worry about money. It was enough for my boy, and it's enough for me. 3 days pass in a blur of casseroles delivered by church friends, sympathy cards from people I haven't spoken to in years, and the strange quiet that fills a house when someone important is missing from it. I've been going through Marcus's things slowly, not because I have to, but because touching his belongings makes him feel a little less gone. I'm folding his work shirts, still smelling faintly of sawdust and motor oil when I find the key. It's small and brass, taped to the inside of his toolbox with a piece of masking tape labeled for Mama in Marcus's careful handwriting. I've never seen it before, but something about its weight in my palm feels significant. My phone rings before I can examine it more closely. David's name appears on the screen. Morning, Evelyn. How are you holding up? One day at a time, I tell him honestly. What can I do for you? I need to meet with you today. There are some additional documents Marcus left that I think you should see. Something in his tone makes me sit up straighter. Additional documents. He came to see me again last week, the day before the accident. Left some things in a sealed envelope with instructions that you should receive them after the will was read. After Vanessa heard the will, he means after the first shock was delivered and absorbed. What kind of things, David? I think it's better if we discuss this in person. Can you come to my office this afternoon? Of course. What time? How about 3 o'clock? After we hang up, I turn the mysterious key over in my hands. Marcus was always methodical, always planned ahead, but this level of preparation suggests he knew something was coming. Not the accident, no one could have predicted that, but something. The morning drags by with unusual slowness. I try to distract myself with housework, but my mind keeps circling back to David's call and the weight of the key in my pocket. Finally, I give up and drive to his office early. "You're prompt, as always," David says, greeting me with his familiar, warm smile, but I can see the concern in his eyes. "Come in, sit down." His desk is cleaner than usual, with only a single manila envelope centered on the polished wood surface. My name is written across the front in Marcus's handwriting. "He brought this to me last Tuesday," David explains, settling into his chair. "Said he'd been thinking about our conversation from April, about protecting you and making sure you had all the information you needed." "Information about what?" David slides the envelope across the desk to me. "I think you should open it yourself." The envelope isn't sealed, just folded closed. Inside, I find 3 items: a letter addressed to me, a small notebook, and a set of bank statements I don't recognize. "Marcus asked me to be here when you read these, in case you have questions or need legal advice about what to do next." The letter is written on Marcus's company letterhead, his handwriting neat and deliberate. "Dear Mama, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you've already heard my will. I hope Vanessa took the news better than I expect she will, but knowing her, probably not. There are some things I need you to know about my marriage, things I couldn't tell you while I was alive, because I kept hoping I was wrong. I kept hoping Vanessa would prove me wrong. She didn't." I pause, looking up at David. His expression is gentle but serious. "Keep reading," he says softly. 3 months ago, I hired a private investigator. I know that sounds terrible, like I didn't trust my own wife, but I had to know the truth. Vanessa had been acting strange, secretive phone calls, meetings with people she wouldn't tell me about, talk about opportunities that required more money than we had. The investigator's report is in this envelope. The short version is that Vanessa has been having an affair with her friend Keisha's brother, Jerome, for the past 8 months. They've been planning to leave Atlanta together as soon as they can get enough money to start over somewhere else. The words hit me like cold water. An affair, for 8 months, while Marcus was working to build their future. Vanessa was planning to destroy it. The notebook contains records of conversations I recorded with Vanessa about selling the house and liquidating my business assets. I know it was wrong to record her without permission, but I needed proof of what she was really after. The bank statements show a savings account Vanessa opened in her name only, using money she took from our joint account, small amounts at first, but it adds up to almost $15,000 over the past year. My hands are shaking as I flip through the notebook. Page after page of transcribed conversations, dates and times meticulously noted. Marcus had been building a case against his own wife. "I want you to have this information in case Vanessa tries to contest the will or cause problems for you after I'm gone. She's not going to be happy with $50,000 when she was expecting everything. And I'm worried about what she might do. I'm sorry I never told you any of this. I kept thinking I could fix things, that maybe if I just loved her enough, or gave her enough security, she'd remember why she married me in the first place. But some people can't be fixed, Mama. Some people are just broken, in ways that love can't heal. Please don't blame yourself for not seeing what she really was. She fooled me too, for a long time. And please don't let her guilt or manipulate you into giving her more than what I left her. She made her choices, and now she has to live with them. I love you more than words can say. Thank you for raising me to be a man who tries to do the right thing, even when it's hard. Your son, always, Marcus. I sit in David's office with tears streaming down my face, not just from grief but from a complicated mix of pride and heartbreak. Pride that my son was strong enough to face the truth about his marriage, heartbreak that he had to face it alone. "How long have you known about this?" I asked David. "Since last Tuesday, when he brought me the envelope. Before that, I suspected something was wrong, but I didn't know the details." I pick up the investigator's report. It's thorough and professional, with photographs, bank records, phone records, and a timeline that tells the story Marcus couldn't bring himself to tell me while he was alive. Vanessa and Jerome, Washington, age 29. They met at a real estate seminar 8 months ago. He's a contractor from Birmingham with his own renovation business and big dreams about flipping houses in gentrifying neighborhoods. The report includes photos of them together at restaurants, hotels, and what appears to be property viewings in Birmingham and Montgomery. "She was planning to leave him," I murmur, more to myself than to David. "It appears so." The investigator thinks they were waiting for the right moment, probably after she could access Marcus's assets. The brass key suddenly makes sense. I pull it from my pocket and show it to David. I found this in Marcus's toolbox this morning. David examines it carefully. Looks like a safety deposit box key. There's a number etched into the side, 347. Marcus didn't have a safety deposit box, at least, not one I knew about. Maybe we should find out. An hour later, we're standing in the basement vault of First National Bank, waiting while Jennifer Walsh confirms that box 347 was indeed registered to Marcus Carter, with instructions that access should be granted to his mother in the event of his death. He set this up last week. Jennifer explains as she leads us to the box. Said it was important that you have access to everything he'd left for you. The safety deposit box is small, but packed full. More documents, more photographs, and a thick envelope marked insurance. Back in David's office, we spread everything across his desk like pieces of a puzzle. The insurance envelope contains policy information I've never seen before, not just the work policy Vanessa mentioned, but a private life insurance policy Marcus had taken out 6 months ago. The beneficiary is me, and the payout is $200,000. She doesn't know about this one, David observes. Marcus made sure of that. I'm beginning to understand the full scope of my son's planning. He didn't just protect me in his will, he created an entire safety net I never knew existed. There are also property deeds in the box, not just for our family home, but for 2 rental properties Marcus apparently owned without my knowledge, small houses in up-and-coming neighborhoods, both generating monthly income that was being deposited into an account in my name. I don't understand, I tell David. When did Marcus buy rental properties? How did I not know about any of this? Look at the dates, David says, pointing to the purchase documents. Both properties were bought in the past year. During the same period, Vanessa was taking money from their joint account. The pieces click into place. While Vanessa was skimming money and planning her exit strategy, Marcus was quietly building a financial foundation for me, while she was dreaming of real estate investments with her lover. He was actually making real estate investments for his mother's future. He knew, I whispered. He knew she was stealing from him, and instead of confronting her, he just worked around her. That's Marcus, David says with a sad smile, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Always trying to protect the people he loved. The final item in the box is a DVD labeled for Mama's peace of mind. David's office doesn't have a DVD player, but he knows someone down the hall who does. The video shows Marcus sitting at his kitchen table, the same table where we'd had so many conversations over the years. He looks tired but determined, and seeing his face again live moving, talking makes my heart clench with fresh grief. Hi, Mama. If you're watching this, it means you've found everything I left for you, and you probably have some questions about why I kept so many secrets. On the screen, Marcus runs a hand through his hair, a gesture I've seen 1,000 times. The truth is, I was embarrassed. Embarrassed that I married someone who never really loved me. Embarrassed that I was so blind to what she was doing. Embarrassed that I needed to protect you from my own wife. He leans forward, looking directly into the camera. But I want you to know that none of this is your fault. You raised me right, Mama. You taught me to be generous and trusting and to see the good in people. Those aren't character flaws. Even when other people take advantage of them, tears are streaming down my face, but I can't look away. I also want you to know that I was happy, even knowing what I knew about Vanessa, even dealing with all this mess. I was happy because I had you. I had family dinners and Sunday mornings and the knowledge that at least one person in the world loved me exactly as I was. He smiles, that beautiful smile that could light up any room. So don't you dare blame yourself for any of this. Don't you dare think you could have done anything differently. You gave me the best life a son could ask for, and I'm grateful for every minute of it. The video ends with Marcus blowing a kiss to the camera, and I completely fall apart. David hands me tissues and sits quietly while I cry for Marcus. For the marriage that was built on lies, for the son who carried such heavy secrets to protect me from them. When I finally compose myself, David clears his throat gently. So what do you want to do with all this information? I look at the evidence spread across his desk, proof of adultery, theft, and deception. Enough evidence to destroy Vanessa completely if I chose to use it. Nothing, I say finally. I'm going to do nothing. David raises an eyebrow. Nothing. Evelyn, she stole from Marcus. She was planning to steal from you. This evidence could what? Hurt her more than she's already been hurt. Make her suffer more than she's already suffering. I shake my head. Marcus left me everything I need to be secure and comfortable for the rest of my life. What would I gain by destroying her? Justice. David says simply. Whose justice? Mine or Marcus's? I gather the photographs and documents, stacking them neatly. My son spent the last months of his life building a case against his wife, instead of trying to save his marriage. That's not the Marcus I raised. That's a man who was already dead inside. I pause, thinking about the video, about the sadness in Marcus's eyes even when he was smiling. If I use this evidence to hurt Vanessa, I become part of what killed my son's spirit. I become part of the problem, instead of part of the healing. David studies my face carefully, and if she causes trouble for you, tries to contest the will, or make your life difficult, then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I won't start a war with evidence my son gathered while his heart was breaking. I drive home from David's office, with my head spinning and my heart heavy. The evidence of Vanessa's betrayal sits in a box on my passenger seat like a loaded weapon I've chosen not to fire. Part of me wonders if I'm being naive, if Marcus would want me to use everything he'd given me to protect myself. But the larger part of me, the part that raised a son to be generous and forgiving, even when it cost him, knows that revenge isn't the answer. It never is. My phone rings as I'm pulling into my driveway. Vanessa's name appears on the screen, and for a moment I consider letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity wins out over caution. Hello, Vanessa, Evelyn. I need to see you tonight. It's important. Her voice sounds different, strained, desperate. What's this about, baby? I can't discuss it over the phone. Can I come over, please? Against my better judgment, I agree. An hour later, she's at my door, with red-rimmed eyes, and the kind of frantic energy that comes from sleepless nights and difficult decisions. Thank you for seeing me, she says, settling onto my sofa without the usual performance of grace. I know things have been complicated since the will reading. Complicated is one word for it. She fidgets with her purse strap, avoiding eye contact. Evelyn, I need to tell you something. About Marcus, about our marriage, about ... everything. Here it comes, I think. The confession Marcus's evidence already revealed. I haven't been honest with you, she continues, about who I am, about what I wanted from my marriage to Marcus. Go on. She takes a shaky breath. I married your son because I thought he could give me the life I wanted. Security, status, a comfortable future. But I never really loved him the way he deserved to be loved. The admission hangs between us like smoke. Part of me wants to tell her I already know, that Marcus knew, that all her secrets have been exposed, but another part of me needs to hear her tell it herself. Marcus was a good man, she continues, tears starting to flow. He was kind and generous and patient with me, even when I didn't deserve it. But I always felt like I was playing a role, pretending to be someone I wasn't. Why are you telling me this now? Because I've been thinking about what you said the other day, about how I should have left if this life wasn't enough for me. You were right. I should have been honest instead of ... double quotes. She trails off, unable to finish the sentence. Instead of what, Vanessa? She looks up at me with eyes full of guilt and shame. Instead of having an affair, instead of stealing money from our joint account, instead of planning to leave Marcus as soon as I could get enough money to start over somewhere else. The words come out in a rush, like she's been holding them in for so long they've turned toxic. I study her face, looking for signs of manipulation or performance, but all I see is genuine remorse. How long? I ask quietly. The affair? 8 months. The money ... longer. I started small, just a few hundred here and there, but it added up. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I told myself I deserved it, that I was just taking what should have been mine anyway, but I knew it was wrong. Does Marcus know? The question slips out before I remember that Marcus is gone, that he knew everything and chose to handle it his own way. I don't know. He never said anything, but ... She looks around the room, at the family photos and comfortable furniture. The last few months, he was different, distant, like he was protecting himself from something, or protecting me from something. I think, but don't say, why are you confessing this to me, Vanessa? What do you hope to gain? She laughs, bitterly. Gain? I'm not trying to gain anything. I'm trying to, I don't know, make amends, face the truth, stop running from what I did. And what about Jerome? The name hits her like a physical blow, and she stares at me in shock. How do you know about Jerome? Does it matter how I know? She's quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. Marcus found out, didn't he? That's why he changed the will. That's why he left me almost nothing. I nod slowly. Among other reasons. What other reasons? This is the moment where I have to decide how much truth to share, how much of Marcus's evidence to reveal. I think about my son's broken heart, about the months he spent gathering proof against the woman he loved, about the sadness in his eyes in that final video. He knew about your plans to liquidate his assets. He knew about the real estate schemes, the talk of selling our family home, the investments you wanted to make with his money. Vanessa's face crumpled. He heard everything. He heard enough. I never meant to hurt him, she whispers. I wanted more from life than what we had. I wanted to build something bigger, something important. You wanted to build something for yourself, using his money and his mother's security as the foundation. Yes, she admits. God help me, yes. The honesty is brutal and complete. And for the first time since Marcus died, I see glimpses of the woman my son fell in love with, not the polished performer or the calculating schemer, but the broken, insecure person underneath who never learned how to love without taking. What happens now? She asks. That depends on you. What do you mean? I lean forward, choosing my words carefully. Marcus left evidence of everything you did, bank records, recordings of conversations, documentation of the affair, proof of the theft, enough to destroy you completely if I chose to use it. Her face goes white. Are you going to use it? I don't know yet. That depends on what you do next. What do you want me to do? I want you to disappear. The words come out harsher than I intended, but they're true. I want you to take your 50,000. I drive home from David's office, with my head spinning and my heart heavy. The evidence of Vanessa's betrayal sits in a box on my passenger seat like a loaded weapon I've chosen not to fire. Part of me wonders if I'm being naive, if Marcus would want me to use everything he'd given me to protect myself. But the larger part of me, the part that raised a son to be generous and forgiving, even when it cost him, knows that revenge isn't the answer. It never is. My phone rings as I'm pulling into my driveway. Vanessa's name appears on the screen, and for a moment I consider letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity wins out over caution. Hello, Vanessa, Evelyn. I need to see you tonight. It's important. Her voice sounds different, strained, desperate. What's this about, baby? I can't discuss it over the phone. Can I come over, please? Against my better judgment, I agree. An hour later, she's at my door, with red-rimmed eyes and the kind of frantic energy that comes from sleepless nights and difficult decisions. Thank you for seeing me, she says, settling onto my sofa without the usual performance of grace. I know things have been complicated since the will reading. Complicated is one word for it. She fidgets with her purse strap, avoiding eye contact. Evelyn, I need to tell you something. About Marcus, about our marriage, about ... everything. Here it comes, I think. The confession Marcus's evidence already revealed. I haven't been honest with you, she continues, about who I am, about what I wanted from my marriage to Marcus. Go on. She takes a shaky breath. I married your son because I thought he could give me the life I wanted. Security, status, a comfortable future. But I never really loved him the way he deserved to be loved. The admission hangs between us like smoke. Part of me wants to tell her I already know, that Marcus knew, that all her secrets have been exposed, but another part of me needs to hear her tell it herself. Marcus was a good man, she continues, tears starting to flow. He was kind and generous and patient with me, even when I didn't deserve it. But I always felt like I was playing a role, pretending to be someone I wasn't. Why are you telling me this now? Because I've been thinking about what you said the other day, about how I should have left if this life wasn't enough for me. You were right. I should have been honest instead of ... double quotes. She trails off, unable to finish the sentence. Instead of what, Vanessa? She looks up at me with eyes full of guilt and shame. Instead of having an affair, instead of stealing money from our joint account, instead of planning to leave Marcus as soon as I could get enough money to start over somewhere else. The words come out in a rush, like she's been holding them in for so long they've turned toxic. I study her face. 2 weeks pass before I see Vanessa again. She calls first, asking if she can come by to say goodbye and collect a few personal items Marcus had kept in his bedroom. Her voice is different, now quieter, less performed. When she arrives, she looks different too. The designer clothes have been replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. Her hair is pulled back in a plain ponytail, and she's wearing minimal makeup. She looks younger this way, more like the woman Marcus first brought home 5 years ago. The probate came through, she says, settling carefully on the edge of my sofa. David said the 50,000 should be in my account by tomorrow. and then you'll leave. Day after tomorrow. I've got a job lined up in Phoenix. Nothing fancy, just office work for a property management company. But it's a start. Phoenix, far from Atlanta, far from Jerome, far from the wreckage of her marriage to my son. It's a good choice. I wanted to give you these before I go, she says, pulling a small box from her purse. Inside are Marcus's wedding ring and a few pieces of jewelry he'd given her over the years. Nothing expensive, just the kind of thoughtful gifts a loving husband gives his wife on birthdays and anniversaries. Keep the jewelry, I tell her. Marcus gave those to you. I don't want them. They'll just remind me of what I threw away. I take the box and set it on the coffee table between us. Marcus's wedding ring catches the light, a simple gold band that represented promises she never intended to keep. Vanessa, can I ask you something? Of course. Did you ever love him, even a little bit? She's quiet for a long time, and I can see her wrestling with the question. Finally, she nods. I tried to. I really did try to love him the way he loved me. But I think I was too selfish to love anyone properly. Too focused on what I wanted, what I needed, what I deserved. She looks around the room with something like wonder. Marcus deserved someone who could see what I see now. What do you see now? Home, she says simply. I see a home full of love and history, and people who care about each other. I used to think this was small and limiting, but it's not. It's everything that matters. The admission surprises me with its honesty and insight. Maybe there's hope for her yet. Maybe this painful experience will teach her to value the things that actually matter. There's something else, she says, pulling an envelope from her purse. I wrote Marcus a letter. I know he'll never read it, but I needed to say the words anyway. Would you keep it? Maybe read it someday when you're ready. I take the envelope, feeling its weight in my hands. What does it say? Everything I should have said while he was alive. The apologies he deserved. The truth about who I really was. The acknowledgement that he gave me more love than I ever gave him back. After she leaves, I sit alone with the letter for several hours before deciding to read it. The handwriting is Vanessa's, but the voice is different from any version of her I've known. Dear Marcus, I know you'll never read this, but I need to say these words anyway. Need to put them somewhere outside my own guilty heart. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for lying to you, for using you, for taking your generous love and turning it into something selfish and small. I'm sorry for the affair, for the stolen money, for the plans I made behind your back. Most of all, I'm sorry for never giving you the wife you deserved. You were everything good about love, patient and kind and forgiving and strong. You deserved someone who could match that goodness, someone who could build a life with you instead of always looking for something better somewhere else. I hope wherever you are, you know that your mama loves you perfectly. She sees who you really were, understands the man you became, appreciates the sacrifices you made to take care of her. That kind of love, the love between you and Evelyn, is what I spent 5 years envying instead of learning from. I'm leaving Atlanta tomorrow, leaving behind everything we built together because I finally understand that I never really built anything at all. I just lived in the house your love created while planning to tear it down for parts. Your mama offered me mercy. I don't deserve, just like you did every day of our marriage. I'm going to try to be worthy of that mercy. Try to become someone who could have deserved your love instead of someone who wasted it. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry for all of it. Vanessa. I fold the letter carefully and place it in the box with Marcus's ring. It's not enough words, can never undo the damage she caused, but it's something. It's honesty. Finally, completely. And maybe that's what Marcus would have wanted most. Not revenge or punishment, but truth. The next morning, I wake up to silence. Not the heavy silence of grief, but the lighter quiet of possibility. For the first time since Marcus died, I don't immediately feel the crushing weight of loss. Instead, I feel something I haven't felt in weeks, curiosity about what comes next. I make my coffee and sit at the kitchen table, looking through the financial documents David left with me. The rental properties Marcus bought are both generating steady income. Combined with the life insurance money and my own savings, I have more financial security than I ever imagined possible. But more than that, I have choices. For the first time in my adult life, I don't have to worry about making ends meet, or stretching every dollar, or planning for emergencies I might not be able to handle. Marcus saw to that, protected me completely, gave me the freedom to decide what I want to do with whatever time I have left. I could travel, something I've always dreamed about but never had the money for. I could take classes, maybe finally get that college degree. 2 weeks pass before I see Vanessa again. She calls first, asking if she can come by to say goodbye and collect a few personal items Marcus had kept in his bedroom. Her voice is different, now quieter, less performed. When she arrives, she looks different too. The designer clothes have been replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. Her hair is pulled back in a plain ponytail, and she's wearing minimal makeup. She looks younger this way. More like the woman Marcus first brought home 5 years ago. The probate came through, she says, settling carefully on the edge of my sofa. David said, the 50,000 should be in my account by tomorrow. And then you'll leave. Day after tomorrow. I've got a job lined up in Phoenix. Nothing fancy, just office work for a property management company. But it's a start. Phoenix, far from Atlanta, far from Jerome, far from the wreckage of her marriage to my son. It's a good choice. I wanted to give you these before I go, she says, pulling a small box from her purse. Inside are Marcus's wedding ring and a few pieces of jewelry he'd given her over the years. Nothing expensive, just the kind of thoughtful gifts a loving husband gives his wife on birthdays and anniversaries. Keep the jewelry, I tell her. Marcus gave those to you. I don't want them. They'll just remind me of what I threw away. I take the box and set it on the coffee table between us. Marcus's wedding ring catches the light, a simple gold band that represented promises she never intended to keep. Vanessa, can I ask you something? Of course. Did you ever love him, even a little bit? She's quiet for a long time, and I can see her wrestling with the question. Finally, she nods. I tried to. I really did try to love him the way he loved me. But I think I was too selfish to love anyone properly, too focused on what I wanted, what I needed, what I deserved. She looks around the room with something like wonder. Marcus deserved someone who could see what I see now. What do you see now? Home, she says simply. I see a home full of love and history, and people who care about each other. I used to think this was small and limiting, but it's not. It's everything that matters. The admission surprises me with its honesty and insight. Maybe there's hope for her yet. Maybe this painful experience will teach her to value the things that actually matter. There's something else, she says, pulling an envelope from her purse. I wrote Marcus a letter. I know he'll never read it, but I needed to say the words anyway. Would you keep it? Maybe read it someday when you're ready. I take the envelope, feeling its weight in my hands. What does it say? Everything I should have said while he was alive. The apologies he deserved. The truth about who I really was. The acknowledgement that he gave me more love than I ever gave him back. After she leaves, I sit alone with the letter for several hours before deciding to read it. The handwriting is Vanessa's, but the voice is different from any version of her I've known. Dear Marcus, I know you'll never read this, but I need to say these words anyway. Need to put them somewhere outside my own guilty heart. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for lying to you, for using you, for taking your generous love and turning it into something selfish and small. I'm sorry for the affair, for the stolen money, for the plans I made behind your back. Most of all, I'm sorry for never giving you the wife you deserve. 6 months later, I'm standing in my kitchen making Sunday dinner for 12 people. And the house feels alive again in ways I thought were lost forever. The dining room table is extended with 2 card tables to accommodate everyone, and the kitchen counters are covered with side dishes brought by friends who understand that food is love made visible. It's become a tradition. These Sunday dinners, what started as Ruth inviting herself over to make sure I was eating properly, has grown into a weekly gathering of church friends, neighbors, and the kind of chosen family that fills the empty spaces grief leaves behind. Mrs. Carter, this mac and cheese is even better than usual, calls out James Washington, one of Marcus's former co-workers who's become a regular at our table. What's your secret? The secret is making it with love instead of obligation. I tell him, and realize as I say it that it's true. For years, I cooked Sunday dinner because it was expected, because it was tradition, because Marcus loved coming home to a full table. Now I cook because I enjoy it, because feeding people brings me joy, because choosing to love is different from being required to love. The conversation around my table is lively but comfortable talk of grandchildren, and garden vegetables and the church renovation fund. Normal life. The kind Vanessa used to find so limiting and small. I understand now that she was wrong about smallness. This isn't small. This is essential. After dinner, as people are cleaning up and saying their goodbyes, Ruth lingers in the kitchen with me. You look happy, she observes, drying the last of the serving dishes. I am happy, I tell her, surprised to realize it's completely true. Different than before, but happy. Different how? I consider the question while I wipe down the counters. Before, My happiness was tied to Marcus's happiness. If he was doing well, I was content. If he was struggling, I worried. Now my happiness is mine, I suppose. It doesn't depend on anyone else. That's healthy. It's also lonely sometimes, I admit, but it's honest, and I think Marcus would approve. Ruth nods. He raised you well. The joke makes us both laugh. It should be the other way around. I raised him, but in many ways, Marcus did teach me how to live. His generosity, his forgiveness, his quiet strength in the face of betrayal. They all showed me possibilities for who I could become. After Ruth leaves, I settle into my favorite chair with a cup of tea and the photo album I've been working on. It's a project that started as grief, therapy, and evolved into something more, celebration of Marcus's life, told through pictures and stories and memories that deserve to be preserved. I'm arranging photos from his high school graduation when my phone rings. The caller ID shows a Phoenix area code, and my heart skips a beat. Hello, Evelyn, it's Vanessa. Her voice is different, again steadier, more grounded. It's been 6 months since she left Atlanta, 6 months of silence that I hadn't expected to be broken. Hello, Vanessa, how are you? I'm good, actually, really good. I wanted to call and let you know I'm doing well, and to thank you again for the chance you gave me. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You could have destroyed me with what you knew, and instead you showed me mercy I didn't deserve. That gift changed my life. I settle back in my chair, curious about what she's learned in her months away from Atlanta. Tell me about Phoenix. It's different from what I expected. Bigger, but also somehow simpler. I'm working for a property management company, but not the kind of high-end flipping operation I used to dream about. We handle affordable housing, help families find decent places to live. It's good work. That sounds wonderful. I met someone, she says, and I can hear the smile in her voice. His name is David. Different David from your lawyer, and he's like Marcus in some ways. Kind, steady, honest about who he is and what he wants. And what do you want, Vanessa? Something real this time. Something built on truth instead of performance. She pauses. I told him everything, Evelyn, about Marcus, about the affair, about the money I stole. I told him the worst things about myself before I let myself fall in love with him. How did he take it? He said everyone deserves a second chance to be the person they wish they'd been the first time. The wisdom in that statement takes my breath away. It sounds like something Marcus might have said, the kind of generous philosophy that made him who he was. I'm glad you're happy, I tell her, and mean it. I wanted you to know that I think about Marcus every day, not with guilt anymore, but with gratitude. He taught me what real love looks like, even if I couldn't appreciate it at the time. He would be glad to know you learned something from knowing him. There's something else, she says. I've been saving money, and I want to send you something. Not much, just a little bit each month to help with. I don't know, whatever you need, Vanessa. No, you don't owe me anything. I owe Marcus everything. Since I can't pay him back, let me pay it forward, please. The offer touches me more than I expected. Not because I need the money Marcus is planning insured, I'll never want for anything, but because it represents Vanessa's understanding of how debt and gratitude and love actually work. If you want to honor Marcus's memory, I tell her, donate the money to a scholarship fund. Help some young person get an education, or start a business, or build something good. I'll do that. I'll call it the Marcus Carter Second Chances Fund. After we hang up, I sit in my quiet house and think about the strange journey that brought us all to this moment. 6 months ago, I buried my son and discovered that his wife had betrayed him. 6 months ago, I had enough evidence to destroy Vanessa completely and chose mercy instead. Now she's building a new life based on honesty and gratitude, honoring Marcus's memory by becoming the person she should have been when she had the chance to love him properly. It's not justice in the traditional sense. Vanessa faced no legal consequences for her theft or adultery. She wasn't punished for the pain she caused or the trust she broke, but she was changed by mercy in ways punishment never could have accomplished. Maybe that's what Marcus was trying to teach me with his careful planning and protective love. Maybe the point wasn't to have the power to destroy someone, but to have the wisdom to choose redemption instead. I turn back to the photo album. 2 pictures of my son at every age and stage of his life. Marcus at 5, gap-toothed and grinning. Marcus at 16, tall and awkward in his first job interview suit. Marcus at 30, dancing with Vanessa at their wedding, while I watched from the sidelines, hoping she would make him happy. She didn't make him happy. but she didn't destroy him either. In the end, Marcus chose protection over revenge, love over bitterness, hope over despair. He chose to believe that people could change, that second chances mattered, that mercy was always the harder and better path. My phone rings again. This time it's David, the lawyer who's become such a good friend. Evening, Evelyn. How was Sunday dinner? Wonderful. Full house, good food, plenty of laughter. I'm glad. Listen, I wanted to let you know that the Marcus Carter Second Chances Fund is officially established. The first scholarship will be awarded next spring. Vanessa had moved quickly on her promise. That's wonderful, David. Marcus would be so proud. He would be proud of you too. You know, the way you've handled everything, the choices you've made, the life you're building. I hope so. I know so. You raised a son who protected you even after death, who planned for your happiness even in the midst of his own heartbreak. That doesn't happen by accident, Evelyn. That's the result of a lifetime of love and wisdom. After we say goodbye, I closed the photo album and walked through my house, turning off lights and checking locks, preparing for another night in the home. Marcus made sure I'd never lose Dot in my bedroom. I pause at the dresser where I keep the box containing Marcus's wedding ring and Vanessa's letter. I've read the letter dozens of times now, not from a desire to relive the pain, but from a need to remember that even the most broken people can find their way back to truth. Tomorrow I'll wake up in my own house, financially secure and surrounded by people who love me. I'll tend my garden and call my friends and maybe sign up for that art class I've been considering. I'll live the life Marcus's sacrifice made possible. Not just the financial freedom, but the emotional freedom to choose joy over bitterness, hope over despair. It's been 6 months since I buried my son, 6 months since I discovered the full extent of his love and protection. The grief hasn't disappeared, I don't think it ever will, completely, but it's transformed into something bearable, something that coexists with gratitude and peace. Marcus is gone, but his love remains, in the security he provided, in the wisdom he taught me, in the example he set of choosing mercy over revenge, grace over judgment, protection over punishment. I think that's enough. I think that's everything. In the quiet of my bedroom, I whisper the words I've said every night since he died. Thank you, baby. Thank you for everything. And in the silence that follows, I swear I can hear him whisper back, "You're welcome, Mama. You're welcome."